teaches us how to be one with ourselves.
Zen.
Mm.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Your Journey Yoga channel. This is my friend Jaydee. My name is Natalia. I'm the creator of Your Journey Yoga, and I wanted to start a little podcast style series where I have conversation with my friends because I always find myself having beautiful conversations with the people I know, and it's knowledge that I want to share with the world. So, thank you for being here. And Jaydee, I want to start by having you tell us who you are and what you do in the world.
So I just officially launched my own life coaching business. Yay! And this is something that I have had working in the background for the last couple of years. And specifically, I'm an energy coach. And so what that means is that we work from the inside out. So with coaching, right, it's really kind of forward thinking, right? We're setting goals, we're working towards the life that we desire, whatever we want to create. And when we do that, we're going to meet a lot of internal parts of ourselves. And so it's really important to have someone to support you as you work through that internal or those internal aspects. So then you can take the action in the external world on the things that you have that you want to achieve. So whatever your goals are, whatever your desires are, being able to have someone to support you in that. Mm-hmm. So
something you were saying earlier before we got caught in one of our giggle fests was that a coach is really there to help you see your blind spots, which is something that I feel pretty much anyone could benefit from. And especially as we are both learning in this journey of starting your own business, being your own boss, a lot of your blind spots come to the surface. Yeah. And it ends up being one of those questions of, what do I do with this? How do I do this?
Right.
When you're governing yourself.
Because there's nowhere else that you can put it, right? Like when you're working for someone else, I have the ability to say, oh, well, that boss was mean to me today. And so that's why this is not getting done, or that's why this is being stopped. This project has at a halt, right? And so when it's all you, then you have to confront the things within you that are going on versus like, I'm going to call HR.
Right. There's less fingers. You can't really delegate the blame for not getting things done, for things not going the way you want them to go. Like it's all you. And with that also, something that I'm realizing in this journey of building Your Journey Yoga, I am my own photographer, videographer, video editor. I built my own website. I am also teaching the yoga and offering the things. And there's no, at least that I know of, so if y'all know a user manual that has all of these things included, it's just, you have to learn so many different things. And there's so many layers that I wasn't expecting there to be when I started this. And it's exciting and it's fun to learn all of these new things. And also you just recognize how much time it actually takes to even lay the foundation of something like this. And I'm sure you've come up against some of the same things starting this business as well for your life coaching.
Definitely. Well, there's like the learning the new things, and then there's like the creative flow and when that comes. And so there's kind of this like, sometimes you can plan for creativity, but if you don't have the flow going, then you've got to be able to switch and say, okay, what can I do now? Like still move my business forward, even though I had something else in mind to be doing. And so it's kind of like creating this, it's like having that masculine and that feminine running, all the time, and learning to like move in balance with them. And so it's like letting the masculine come in and have a structure for yourself, but then recognizing when that structure isn't aligned and actually isn't going to work, and allowing your feminine to come in and allowing it to flow and move with whatever the energy is, and whatever's coming forward for you in that moment. I'm really curious for you, like what has been kind of like your greatest challenge over the last couple of months as you've really started to step into this for yourself?
Believing that I can do it in the first place. I think something that came through for me this morning in my acupuncture nap, was this voice that reminded me there is space for your success in the world. I think it's easy to look at, the field or the little creative world that you're starting to make your way into and see so many other people already doing it. And, this is something I came up against when I started teaching in yoga in general at the studio, where I was recognizing there's so many yoga instructors in the world. What makes me special? What's going to make people want to come to my classes? There's already so many people doing this. But I think it's exactly that, is that it's you. And no one out there can do anything that you are doing exactly the way that you are doing it, is the reality of it. So you could be going into a creative world and there's always going to be someone that's already doing.
Well, it's when you see it, that's how you know it's possible.
Exactly. And so there's like this, again, finding this balance of, I see other people doing it, and that's what's led me to feel inspired to do this work in the first place. And it also feels a little bit intimidating. Like, am I good enough? Am I going to create something that is special enough for people to want to invest, for people to want to follow along? And so, of course, I'm my own biggest enemy in this, right? Like, the biggest challenge is myself. The biggest challenge is myself. And I mean, I believe fully also that, like, when our inner world gets a little bit more organized and in alignment, it's reflected in our outer world. And I tried launching this business 3 years ago, and I just wasn't, if I was being really real with myself, which I wasn't at the time, I wasn't fully ready to invest all of myself into it. And so some of the feedback and the responses that I would get from people in general, I just, my outer world was reflecting my inner world, where there wasn't this level of excitement or like belief that it was actually going to happen. And now I'm in a place where I obviously am ready to invest my energy and my time and my resources into creating this. And so as a response, my outer world, like, there's so much support, there's so much belief. And so I know that I'm believing in myself more because I'm seeing it more in my external world. And also, that's still such a challenge. Such a challenge.
So what do you think initially, like when you kind of started to embark on this, what did you identify was kind of the belief that you had around starting your own yoga business? And how has that started to shift?
I think I just didn't really know how to get to the vision that I had. It seemed kind of like not just a hop, skip, and a leap to where I wanted to be, where I was visioning myself being with the business. And so there was more self-doubt, and I think there was also just a general lack of understanding and education, really, of what goes into this. And so I feel so blessed and so lucky to have the people in my life that I do that have modeled different aspects of what I'm creating. Like having knowledge of what equipment to have, the cameras, the editing softwares, the, what it's like to create things for the digital world. And my fellow yoga instructors, and just, I have inspiration from different people in my life that aren't doing the exact thing I'm doing, but have simultaneously helped me kind of learn a little bit more about all the layers, which is, I think, been a big help this time around, actually stepping into it. Having more of the, like, groundwork details of what steps to take. What hop, skips, and leaps I need to take to get to where I'm going.
Hop, skips, and leaps.
Oh yeah, we be jigging over here. We're like hopping and skipping and leaping.
Oh, over
to
there?
Our dreams.
Oh, wait, over there?
Hopping and a skipping and a leaping.
Oh, wait, over there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and it is. Yeah, I mean, that just brought, it's like, some days you feel like you take 5 leaps forward. And then there's days where we seem to be also kind of energetically aligned a lot of the time is like, then we have days where I'm so unmotivated. I am uninspired. Maybe I'm having an experience in my body that like is leading me to not feel very well. And managing yourself essentially, because when you're your own boss, there's no one telling you that you need to show up. You don't have a clock in and clock out. You don't have someone telling you what to do, except for your inner boss, which we are both making friends with right now.
Oh, yeah. We love making friends with our parts.
Yeah. So what parts have you come up against in building your business?
Yeah. Well, recently I've had some conversations with some really deep level parts of myself. And the most recent one that came up is this part of myself that is not very nice to myself. She's really mean. She looks in the mirror and says that she looks ugly today. She watches her video and says that, you know, something's going on with her face or her hair, right? As if any of those things actually matter in the world of creating something that is of value for others and being in the heart of service. But it is a very real part, and it's a really sensitive part. And I think that the beauty that I've experienced most recently is going in and actually having a conversation with that part of myself. Because, you know, when I first started on my journey of transformation, I got really good at having difficult conversations outside of myself, like really good at it. And one of the things that I would do when I would start it, and my coworker reminded me of this the other day, is I would sit down with someone and I would say, I don't know how this is going to come out. It might come out really messy, but I'm going to say it and we can clean it up. I just want you to know that this might be bumpy, because this is my first time saying something like this, right? And so there's certain parts of myself that I have almost tried to like push aside or ignore, because it's like, I say to myself, should I be really thinking that I'm ugly in this? Is that actually something that should be happening? So I'm trying to like ignore it or shove it away, versus like actually sitting down with that part of myself and saying like, hey, what's going on? Can we talk about why this is happening? You're trying to protect me. Okay. Thank you for trying to protect me.
Yeah.
Can we also acknowledge that you saying those mean things is kind of hurtful too?
Yeah, so, and we've had this conversation before. In coaching, seems like it's commonly called like parts work, right? Or at least some people have referred to it as.
So that is a particular type of coaching, is parts work coaching.
Yeah,
not the type of coaching that I do.
Not what you're doing, but it is an aspect I would imagine that you weave in.
Yes.
And also, being a master's degree for clinical mental health, a similar framework is internal family systems, IFS.
Right, which is similar too.
Which is very similar, of acknowledging, you know, more or less like the voices in your head, the versions of self that exist within you in your inner world, and how it has been portrayed to me is allowing them to have a seat at the table. Kind of what you're saying is having that conversation with the parts that are maybe like kicking and screaming or having a little tantrum within you. And instead of, you know, so many people have the tendency to like want to squander it and shut it down and shut it off. But instead having this approach of curiosity of what is it, what's going on? Like, what are you here for? What is it that you're missing? What is it, like, what is the sensitive spot here? Because it all holds value. Yeah. All of them hold value, and just like you said, they're trying to protect us. It's well-intentioned, poorly executed. Typically.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. And our inner world is relational. right? And so the thing is if we think about that, and if when you are in the middle of like a rupture for you, right? And we experienced that earlier this week. If you had been in the middle of that and you're like having this upset about your situation, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you acting like that? Right? Like that would not have been...
Further shut down.
Right? You're going to dig your heels in and you're going to come at me and be like, do you see what the fuck just happened to my rear window here? Right? Like you're going to come at me and then we're going to end up in a brawl that is completely unhealing for both of us.
Context. I had an incident this past week, a couple days ago, where my back windshield of my car was shattered due to some equipment that we had in the back. And it brought up some really dense layers within myself that luckily for me, I have a friend who knows how to meet people when they're in their shadow with grace, because I've also been around people who don't know how to manage that, and that's fine. We all have our work, but also to be kind of witness in that space without feeling like I was wrong for reacting the way that I was healing enough in itself. And so it begs the question of, if it feels good to receive that externally, wouldn't it also feel good to receive that internally?
Exactly.
Of, if you hadn't been there, how could I have validated myself in that situation of, all right, you're pissed off. And that makes sense. Your back rear window was shattered and, you know, we're not really sure how to manage the situation. And, you know, but that internal validation tends to feel a little trickier.
Yeah, and I think that it's trickier because we don't do it.
Yeah, we're not taught how to do it.
We're not taught how to do it. And so what's happening inside of our brain is like just kind of this swirl of thoughts. And so we're not sure like what is what and like where it's coming from. And so a lot of the work that I do really kind of helps you to organize them energetically, right? So it kind of creates a framework for saying, okay, here's 7 different levels of energy. And if you're having this thought, then it's associated with this level. Right? So it really kind of breaks it down so you can kind of start to begin to understand where you're at energetically and kind of take yourself out of it, which is really important to be like, okay, I am definitely in level 2 right now. Like I am mad, I am angry, and what do I know to do in level 2 when I'm experiencing anger? I know to validate and acknowledge myself.
Can you explain the levels a little bit? Because I'm curious now. I've heard you refer, like sometimes she'll say like, I'm a level 4 right now. I am a level 4, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. I'm seeing how you're expressing, though, so I guess I can, like, kind of understand, but I don't really know. I don't know what the levels are, so Can you explain?
Yeah, definitely. So level 1 is when I'm the victim of a situation. So that is when you go into that, like, shell, and you're, like, really in that, like, fearful state, right? Level 2 is where you were when your rear was knocked out, right? You're like angry, you are fuming, you are ready to knock someone out, right? And
not very zen of me.
I think you did so well. You did really well, and it's just an aspect of yourself that you're still growing with. It wants more love. Level 3 is the springboard between, so there's catabolic energy and there's anabolic energy, right? So catabolic energy is destructive energy. Anabolic energy is constructive energy, right? So levels 1 and 2 are catabolic and they're destructive energy, and which does not mean bad. So let's be really clear. Does not mean bad, because sometimes you can get a lot done when you're angry like that, right? Like I can figure out how to solve every single problem that has ever existed when I'm angry. So level 3 is kind of this springboard, which is going to take you from the catabolic state into the anabolic state. And it's kind of this place of like, it's good enough. So I begin to rationalize the experience, right? Level 4 is caring. So that is me going into the state like, how can I help? Level 5 is like really seeing the opportunity. So in your situation with your rear, right, it would be like, okay, so...
My rear window, let's be clear.
With a booty.
Oh, God.
So with your rear, it would be like really seeing the opportunity of like, there was a big lesson that I learned through this, and it really taught me how to trust myself. So the opportunity was
this. We did eventually reach level 5, y'all.
Right. We definitely got there, right? And so it's like
within 24 hours.
Within 24 hours, you absolutely did.
Yes.
And then level 6 is like really seeing how we're all connected. And how we're all one, and really seeing the beauty in the tapestry that is always happening within every experience. And then level 7 is like that blissed out state where there's literally like no right, no wrong. You're just kind of in that like full-blown creative.
It's like beyond the acknowledgement of oneness and the experience.
Yes.
Moving from the acknowledgement of into the experience of oneness. Yeah. So these are connected to the chakras.
Yeah, essentially.
Like when you were saying all of that, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
this
your heart,
is totally
your
the
heart.
chakras.
Yeah.
So, and I love that correlation. What a beautiful little correlation, because it's so, when we are lacking, like at our root chakra, we're lacking that sense of safety, security. Of validation, security. You're that little, you're the victim.
Yeah, you're totally the victim of life, right?
Of anything and everyone. So,
we
what
saw
a beautiful contrast.
I was going to say that post, but it was not a post. It was a wall painting that said, imagine.
Oh, imagine. What did it say? Imagine writing the story of your life and you're the victim in every chapter.
Yeah.
Whew!
That hit. Like that.
I mean, and I am the victim of so many earlier chapters of my book. I mean, I also feel, though, I'm almost in an entirely, like, new book in some ways.
Yeah. Well, you've been rewriting. And so it's interesting when you think about the way that you were telling the stories, right? So it's like, even to watch the way that you kind of started to alchemize some of the stories that you've told since we first met, right? So like some of the stories that you were telling then versus how you're telling those stories now has really started to shift and change. And starting to like pluck the lessons out of those stories. And now we're telling them from a space of power versus from a place of victimhood. And so many of us, like that, you know, writing on the wall was recognizing how many people are actually writing their story as if they are truly the victim of their lives. They're the victim in every experience they have.
And that keeps you at level 1.
Yeah.
That keeps you only working with your root chakra. And so
it keeps you in not enoughness.
So what level do you feel like you're in right now with creating your business? And actually, you're like, I mean, you're working with people. So it's not even that it's here. Your business is a thing. Like, it's not even in just the embryo stage anymore. I was going to say you're not in the creation stage anymore, but you're always going to be in the creation stage. Like, the creativity is going to be ever present. But you're no longer just the embryo, right? Like, you now have life blossoming in your business. So what level do you feel like you're most steadily in right now? Because there's fluctuation day to day.
There's like fluctuation all day, every day.
Hour.
Yeah. I'm like, I can go through all 7 levels in the course of a day pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
And I also think that's the power of being able to recognize the levels, is that I now have like the power of choice of, I am really angry or irritated right now, or like, I am in super creative flow and I'm choosing this and I'm going to go into it and I'm going to dive in and really be inside of it. And I think that the place that I am really starting to lean into more and more is just kind of more of that like level 5-ness, right? Of like, there's an opportunity inside of this experience. There's an opportunity inside of this experience. Whatever comes. And so much of that came from the releasing of feeling like my schedule had to be the same way it was when I was working for corporate America. And the moment I said, like, I can do this my way and release that attachment, energy was freed up in everything that I was doing, all aspects of my business. So I'm curious what that has been like for you as you have kind of stepped into and transitioned, because I know that your job was a little different. It had its corporateness, wasn't fully corporate, but there still was aspects to it.
Working for a corporation where I was allowed a lot of freedom in my schedule.
Yes.
I am someone that thrives with structure. I'm a triple Capricorn, for anyone wondering. I I thrive with structure, and that is something that and she's the opposite. She's the opposite. So, like, when we're doing a trip, I'm like, try to let her take the reins sometimes on, like, or like, loose reins, right? Where she's like, we're just gonna go. We're just gonna go. And I'm like, but when and where? And, like, with what things and what are we doing? So, it's been a journey for me, and I've had many partners as well, like, in the past that are also very much like you, where they just kind of fly by the seat of their pants, and it has driven me up a wall in my past relationships. But it's also a great teaching moment, right? Being at level 5, there's something for me here. There's an opportunity for me to learn and move in a way that may be challenging for me, but, like, if I'm just structure, I'm not creating any space for spontaneity and that creativity to move through. So I have been creating kind of like loose schedules for myself when it comes to being my own boss. I look at more or less like what I want to get done for the week. So, and I've also been trying to not be overly advantageous about how much I want to get done. You know, saying that I need to film 10 videos this week. That feels unobtainable, and I'm way less likely to do it. So if I look at my week and I say, okay, there are 3 videos that I really want to film and get done, that feels obtainable. That feels like something I can do. So I make a little calendar more or less every week with the videos I want to make. And then each day I just kind of put in a chunk of time that I'm gonna be filming, that I'm gonna be editing. And I also try to just leave space. I try to just leave space. For revisions of my time, really, because, you know, things come up. And sometimes I'm not feeling great. And sometimes I, you know, have a friend call that wants to go get lunch or whatever it might be, right? I have the liberty and the freedom of not having to report to an office every morning or clock out or clock in at a certain time. And so allowing for there to be flow, but I think also it's so valuable to have a container. Like, we've had this conversation in our little sister circles before about the feminine being like the essence of water and the masculine kind of being like the bowl for which the water can kind of exist in. And
so the way that I've heard that, which I really love, is like, so the feminine is the river and the masculine is the banks.
Yeah.
And so it's like if there's no bank, right, then the river is like completely, it's flooding, you know, everything. Whereas when the masculine comes in, the river can still flow. It still has, you know, little curvy curves. It's not linear, but it has structure built in.
There's structure.
Yeah.
I've been really, finding that inner structure, that inner, like, having sun, moon, rising Capricorn, I am like, let's go do it. Let's get her done, right? And so working with that part of me also that experiences shame.
Let's get her done.
When I don't get her done.
That's an interesting one. The let's get her done.
Oh,
Where does that come from?
Feeling like my worth is tied to what it is that I put out into the world. Like the product. The good grades. The, you know, like, I gotta be working hard.
Was that a daddy? was that a daddy belief?
What does that mean? Enlighten me. Are you saying, like, daddy issues?
So what I mean is was that something that your dad used to say to you? Get her done.
Actually, no. No, but I think that, you know, something that feels like, I hate, for lack of better term, and I have better words, I just don't have them right now, but like a blessing and a curse, essentially, is like my parents had high expectations for me when it came to academics, and they wanted me to do well. And of course, I'm their baby. They want me to do well. And they also know my potential, right? So they saw my potential and they wanted me to live up to that potential. But little, teenage angst Nat was not having any of that, And so there's always been, like you've talked about recently, the rebel that lives within you that's like, well, I'm not feeling that potential today. I didn't feel that potential for like a few years, I was fighting that potential, right? Where it's like, well, maybe that's not who I want to be. But there is a desire to do well and to get things done in order to feel like other people are pleased with me, which I think is something that we all experience to an extent. I think it's a parent wound that a lot of us experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that our relationship with resistance, too, is another aspect, right? Because we have this idea that, like, we've got to almost, like, kind of, like, continue to push up against the resistance, but the resistance was actually just telling you that, hey, you aren't ready. You've got more work to do. And so if we can, instead of looking at the resistance and writing the story around, well, I haven't done the thing. I haven't done it. I told everyone I was going to start my yoga business, and I didn't start my yoga business. And pack on, like, totally unnecessary shame and just recognize that, oh, that resistance is just saying that. Because now, where you're at, after you were laid off from your job, it's like the energy of where you are is now available for that thing. Those are the growth and development. And so that resistance was just there to tell you that actually wasn't it and to direct you in a different place.
Yeah, I met like an edge that wasn't quite ready to be broken through.
No.
I just didn't have the tools that I have now.
Yeah. No, you just weren't you weren't ready.
I wasn't ready.
You just weren't ready.
I wasn't ready.
And that's okay. Such a good thing to be able to own. And I mean, I think about that for myself in my own business and the journey that I've experienced with it, and so much resistance in certain things. Like, dear Lord. I am like, the amount of resistance and the amount of like, I should have been able to do this, and like, da-da-da-da-da, and like, all of those things, and just the recognition of, oh, I just wasn't ready. I wasn't fully ready for what that would look like. I actually needed these other experiences and these other redirections and, perceived rejections to bring me right here into this place right now in order to be offering from a place of service and not from a place of serving myself.
And I think it's important to note, too, that, like, you're probably never going to really feel like you're fully ready.
Oh, no.
Right? Like, it's one of those things where, I mean, one of the questions I could just hear myself even asking, and I was like, well, when do you know that you're ready? You can always convince yourself that you're not ready. Like, you can always convince yourself that now is not the time, and I'm not ready now. And I think, what's happened, at least for me, in this experience of actually launching this business is it's just flowing. Like, it's kind of just happening. I'm learning and things feel good and I'm following the excitement and I'm following the creativity and things feel more open. If you were to ask all parts of myself if I'm ready to do this, there's definitely a few in there that are like, no, we're not ready.
Totally.
We're not ready. We're too small for this, right? So it's not a matter of knowing that you're ready. Like, it's kind of an allowance of the flow and the not flow, because there's a lot of not flow that happens too. as we're saying, there's an oscillation like between all levels, sometimes in a day.
You vacillate.
I mean, we had all levels the other day with my car. We were having so much fun and so much calm and enjoyment, and then rage and confusion and shame and guilt and like and then seeing the opportunity to learn, and then like it happens quickly, and I think it happens more quickly the more tools that you have. That's kind of the beautiful thing about this, is it's not that like once you learn the tools you just constantly function at level 7. Like,
No.
You know, you get the tools so that when you're in the oscillation, it doesn't feel as jarring. Like you're not getting whiplash from going from level 1 to level 5. It's like you are present to and witness to your own oscillation, and it's not as terrifying that way.
Well, and this is very related to the asana practice, right? And so it's very much this, when you're on your mat and you're in yoga, it's how aware am I of where I am, how I'm transitioning, right? Like, am I frustrated? Am I irritated? Or am I at peace, right? In this position, am I really in my body or am I in my head, right? And so it's like that practice of being aware and the level of awareness that you have this is just that translation into the real life.
Something,
Right? It's being able to take the awareness out into the real world.
Something you said earlier, and that actually just brought me back to a thought I had with something you were saying before, was that awareness is your power, which is...
Awareness is your superpower.
Yeah, awareness is your superpower and that's why, in my classes at the studio, I always start with, we're not rushing into the asana. We're taking time, laying on our backs, feeling what's present in the body, observing what's present in the mind, and feeling our energy and how the three are interconnected, because they always are. And I always tell my students that there's no right or wrong answer. There's nothing you need to change about who you are or how you're feeling in order to be here. That's the beauty of our yoga practice, is we get to take what's present for us and alchemize it in any way that we'd like. And sometimes that means that you get off your mat feeling the same way you did when you got on. But having that awareness of what's happening on your mat is your power, because when you're aware of it, you can do something about it if you want to. And your power also lies in your choice, your ability to choose, but you can't choose if you're not aware.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of awareness.
And that's it, folks. And cut.
Ta-da!
Is there anything that you would like to add to the conversation before we wrap things up today?
Yeah, I think that there's one more thing on the conversation of awareness, is that awareness is really, really powerful. And I think the cherry on top with awareness is our ability to integrate it. And so integration is really the key that is going to allow us to really create that transformation in our lives. Because I can become aware of something, but if I'm just looking at it and looking at it and looking at it and looking at it, right, not making the choice to change.
Analysis paralysis, you might say?
That sometimes this girl, but the integration is so important. And
what you do with the awareness.
Because
I know for many, many years, I started learning philosophy of yoga, and I was really into self-help books, and I was doing all the learning, and I stayed in this state of just awareness for years. And I genuinely feel like this past year, and you've witnessed, like this past year has been the first time of my life that I've actually been integrating the tools that I've accumulated. And I feel like a different person. I present as a different person, and like things happen differently in my life now because I'm integrating the things that I spent all these years being aware of.
Right.
Without doing anything about it. So that's such an important piece, because I think it's easy to get comfortable. Well, I know it's there.
Yeah.
I know it's there, and so it's easy to credit yourself with the awareness and not hold yourself accountable to doing something with it.
Yeah. And also I think that like becoming aware is also a journey too in and of itself. So
absolutely,
we're not in any way, shape, or form knocking the length of time that you decided to only be aware, because
or how long it takes you to become aware.
Exactly, right? Like it's all everyone's own journey. And also the integration is really important, and that's why the practices, the yoga, the coaching can be really supportive on that journey, because it offers tools to help with the integration process.
We are here for your journey with yoga, with life, with spirituality, That is why I created this channel. Your journey is what makes all of this unique. So I would love, 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 love for you guys to comment below and share anything that landed for you in this conversation, anything that lit you up, anything you have questions about, further discussion. I would love to hear from you in the comments, and we will catch y'all next time. Namaste. That was good. Okay. All right.
All right. Okay.
Should we take a deep breath?
Yes, thank you, Yoga Master.
Fucking A, this is gonna take us forever. We'll just begin and laugh. We'll just begin with laughter because that is who we are. Be ready for the giggles. We're full of them.
Hi.
She just.
Thank you, Natalia.
You're welcome.
So I am Jaydee.
Don't worry, I can edit. Well, we all have blind spots. So much editing.
It's okay. Sometimes, there's edits.
Okay. This is going well.
What?
Alright, we're done.
Wait. That was a good start.
Yes.